So I wanted to talk to you very quickly about glutes, because we're going to be utilizing some glute training in the upcoming stories for all of you that are watching the stories. Where the glutes are one of the most favored muscle groups that everybody wants to grow, but it's also one of the laziest and the hardest to develop because it spends most of its time asleep, and I'll explain why. In order for me to bend my arm, I have to relax the muscles that straighten my arm. So the brain will inhibit the muscle that is opposed to the muscle that I want to work. Does that make sense? So if I'm trying to bend my arm this way, I have to relax the muscle that makes my arm go that way. So I have to use, and it's the same, if I want to bend my leg, I have to relax the muscles at the top so I can pull the muscles at the bottom. So if I was to walk around like this all day long, I'd get a few strange looks. But if I'm trying to flex my little biceps all day long, well, the tricep has to be in a state of relaxation all day long. Does that make sense? Because if it's tight, I'm going to be like this all day, okay? So in order for me to flex, I have to relax here. Now, if you think about the muscles here, I can't stand up because of the camera. If the muscle that opposes, we call it the antagonist. The antagonist to the muscle, for example, the antagonist to my bicep is my tricep. So the antagonist to the glute are my hip flexors at the front. Don't have to get too caught up in the weeds about names, but the opposing muscle of my glute is my hip flexor. So if you imagine this is my tricep, this is my bicep, like this. When I'm in this state, I'm in this state. Does that make sense? So if I'm sitting down all day, it's like I'm like this all day. I'm flexing my biceps, so my tricep has to switch off. My brain has to switch it off in order for me to keep this position here. So I'm like this all day long. Then we stand up, we walk around, we sit down, we stand up, we sit down in the car, we stand up, we sit down all day at the office, we stand up, we sit down in front of the TV, we sit down when we eat. So all the time, this muscle is getting short, and this muscle is getting long, and it's getting lazy because it's not doing any work. So when we're sat down all day, this muscle here is inhibited to allow this muscle to tighten, to contract, I guess. But even though it's not in a state of contraction, it's in a state of a position where the brain has to shut this down. So even though I'm not squeezing my bicep, even just by being here, the brain has to shut this muscle down. So even though I'm not under tension in my hips, the brain has to shut this down to allow me to sit, okay? So all day long, our glutes are switched off. So we then come to the gym, and you'll spend, if you're lucky, 10 minutes on glutes versus 8 hours of sitting down. And that 8 hours is sitting down when you're having breakfast, when you're in the car, when you're in the office, when you're going to the bathroom. You sit down all day. Very rarely do many people stand up their whole day, unless you're in my job. So what we need to do is try and get you to associate squeezing and activating the glutes. But in order to get this muscle to fire, we have to get this muscle to relax. And while I'm here, I'm going to try and stay in the frame. Oh, look at that, wonderful. So if you imagine this muscle has been short all day long, I can't just go and work my glute. This muscle is so tight that it's still going to shut down this muscle. So even when I'm stood up straight, because it's so tight, this is still inhibited. It's still asleep. And then when we go to the gym and we do all these exercises and all that, it's the brain has shut this muscle down. So what we need to do is relax these muscles at the front so that our brain can go, I can now work my glutes. So I'm going to show you a couple of these exercises now. From this position, if I was to just relax everything, as I bend forwards, can you see how the movement's occurring in my lower back? So what I need to do is squeeze my butt, lock my pelvis in. So if you think about what we talked about in the previous video, I squeeze my butt, I keep my pelvis tight because everything's connected to my pelvis. I brace my abdominals, and I'm just going to push my hips forwards as far as I can. The difference between this, by pushing my hips forwards, and this, I mean, I can get all the way down and I'm not really feeling much because it's all coming through my back. My back is compensating. Squeeze the butt, brace your abdominals, drive your hips forwards, and you'll feel a big pull down the front upper part of your hip. You've got to keep the tension in the glute. You've got to keep the tension in the abdominals, otherwise the back's going to compensate. So holding this, I would hold this for about 30 seconds before I train, but you can hold this for up to 2 minutes after you train. It's very important we get this mobile, you get this moving, because it's spent the whole day doing this, and we want to get some time getting it to do this. So by doing this stretch, squeeze the butt, brace your abdominals, drive forwards. By increasing that stretch here, you'll increase the chances of you being able to stretch your glutes. Now, just to throw a spanner in the works, this is called hip flexion. This is called hip extension. So when I'm in this position here, I have hip flexors that attach around my hips, but I also have hip flexors that attach around my knee as well. There's one that goes around the knee and around the hip at the same time. So in order to get that, what I can do is increase that stretch angle by pulling my heel up towards my butt. But I still need to keep that squeeze on my butt. So butt, abdominals, drive forwards, and I can pull up for this way. I can hold and I can squeeze as much as I can. Try and take my body as far forward as possible, but you must keep that squeeze in your butt. This is what we refer to as a couch stretch. Imagine this is a couch. I'm gonna put my foot on the top. It's a high couch. And from this position here, I squeeze my butt, I brace my abdominals, and I carry my hips forwards, and I'm gonna increase that stretch here. Don't try and hold the stretch too long before you train, because your body is used to a certain level of elasticity. And if you stretch too long before you train, you're going around training in a different kind of elastic state, if that makes sense, than you would do if you were to then stretch afterwards. 15 to 30 seconds is enough in the beginning, just to loosen things up. And then you can do increased time stretches at the end. Once you've stretched them, 30 seconds before, 2 minutes after, you can grab yourself a foam roll. I don't have a foam roll, but I do have a kettlebell. Now, the advantage of a kettlebell is that I can lie down on the very top of it, and I can put that on top of my hip. And that just applies pressure to my hip flexors. The only downside to this is that I can't roll, but even with a foam roll, you're not really gonna roll very far anyway. I'll go through a foam rolling video later, I just don't have one at hand. So if you're tight, and also what you're trying to do is you're trying to look for tension. You're trying to look for a little bit of discomfort. If you're lying on it and it feels fine, then stop lying on it. Dig around, and the good thing about the kettlebell is it's relentless, it's not gonna give. So it's gonna really push in, but you've gotta allow your body to relax and just move around a little bit. Try and find that spot that's sore and just stretch it out. Ultimately, try and start on a foam roll. It's a little bit more forgiving. But if you wanna just get straight in, just move around, find the sore spot, and then just massage that area. Remember, you're spending your whole day, for most people, seated. So you then have to go and undo all that when you come to the gym or when you get home. Even after a long day of work, come back and just stretch out your hip flexors. Really, really, please do it. So now that you've stretched your hip flexors, what we can do is now activate the glutes. So from this position here, all we're gonna do is lie down on our backs, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift, watch my back. See how I tuck my tail underneath, I'm gonna lift, and I'm gonna squeeze my butt. Now, the objective of this is not, to me, a butt exercise. We're trying to activate the glutes. So by lifting up, I'm grinding up, and I'm trying to squeeze my butt cheeks together. With my clients, I use the analogy of closing a gate. What I'm not trying to do is lift my butt as high as I humanly can possibly go, because that's coming through my spine. What I want to do is lift and squeeze the butt cheeks together, lock the gate. For those of you that work with me, you'll know that expression very well. Lock the gate, close the gate, shut your glutes together. My ability to lift my hips up, this is not my glutes, this is my back. So come up, squeeze the butt, hold. Slowly come down, lift, squeeze. Squeeze your cheeks together like you're trying to hold a coin. If you want to, put your hands on your butt, lift up and squeeze. By just poking around with your thumb or your hand, grab hold of your own glutes and not somebody else's. Poke around with your butt and make sure that it's on. Slowly come down, lift and squeeze. For those of you, that are doing the workouts with me, with the squats, we're now going to be incorporating this into the next workout. So what we're going to do, after we do the squats, we're going to lie on the ground and we're going to squeeze down. In the beginning, we're going to do 10 with maybe a 2-second hold at the top. I can't have it too long because it makes the stories too long and nobody's interested in watching me squeeze my butt for 2 seconds at the top. So I'll probably fast forward them. So squeeze, come down, squeeze, come down. If you find this is easy, There's many different ways we can increase it. You can have one leg up, you can do single legs, or if you want to, have your back against the box, come down, squeeze. But I'm going to talk about hip extension in another video. Right now, I just want you to understand what we're going to do in the next series of exercises. Listen. The stories, I have to remember what it is because I don't remember the names. The stories, they're going to increase in intensity. They're going to increase in intensity and they're going to start to become more of a workout. So I know right now we did 10 squats and then 20 squats, and now we're going to start to do 30 squats. But then we're going to incorporate the glutes as well on top of it. Now is the time to start doing them on your own, okay? It's all well and good watching my stories and maybe liking it and doing a thumbs up. Excuse my language, fucking do it. It took me 45 seconds to do the squats, and it'll take you 20 minutes to walk around the block. You can get on your phone, you can watch Netflix, you can do whatever you want to do. Walk on the treadmill, do whatever you want. Get your steps in to burn the calories, and trust me, the steps really make a big difference. But do the squats, don't just watch it, don't just like it. I'm not really interested in likes, I'm interested in you doing it. Because now we're going to be doing the glutes, then we're going to start doing some abs, then we're going to start doing some exercise with the kettlebell, and it's going to grow. And then I'll start making videos. So there is room for this to grow. So jump in now, be the first, and post it. Show me that you're doing it, all right? So that's enough of my lectures. It's all on you, it's not on me. I'm still doing the work anyway, so I'm getting the benefits. Anyway, listen, thank you for your time. Thank you for getting through my rambles. I know I ramble, I can't help it. It's what I do best. It's the only thing I do best. But in the meantime, get pressing, roll, stretch, and I'm going to put that up as well in one of the videos on its own, and I will see you very, very soon. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you, bye.